And welcome back into the Stripe Show podcast. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Live golf, baby. It is back. PGA Tour, full swing. We just start the show. A little kudos to the PGA Tour. Congratulations. Job well done to the Tour, Colonial, Charles Schwab, everybody involved. You got it to the finish line, and it looks smooth. Best players in the world. Of course, in the field, the top 5 were there, 16 of the top 20. And we were all treated to some live action. And I got to tell you, it felt good to sit there and watch some meaningful sports. The ball was in the air. And Daniel Berger, not surprised if you watched the matchup last week. He was in my fantasy lineup. And the guy is just playing terrific golf. Got his third win. His third win on the PGA Tour. And all 3 of them, listen to this, have come the second week of June. All 3 of them. He won the FedEx St. Jude Classic back in 2016 on June 12th. Won the FedEx St. Jude Classic again in 2017 on June 11th. And here he is on June 14th, 2020. This guy's the greatest player of all time. The second week of June, the champion. I think this one the most meaningful because of the field. Who was there? The history, the Hawk. That's where he played golf. Ben Hogan at Colonial, and Daniel Berger wins in a playoff over Colin Morikawa. We're going to get to all of that, and joining me here on the Stripe Show to break it down, Froggy, you're back. How you doing, my man?
Doing really well. Once again, it was great to have live golf. Once again, golf that was meaningful. Not that I didn't enjoy the TaylorMade driving one with Ricky and Rory and Dustin and Matt Wolf, and I really enjoyed the match with Peyton and Brady and Phil and Tiger. However, it was great to have a real tournament on, to watch it for 4 days and watch these guys. Some of them showed signs of rust, and other ones looked like they had really been working during the quarantine.
Yeah, some rust was there for sure. I think some fatigue as well down the stretch on Sunday. I think we saw some guys get a little tired, including Bryson. I know he's got 30 pounds. He was out there bombing it.
40.
But I thought he was wearing down a little bit there down the stretch. So a little fatigue as well. And I want to welcome in to the Stripe Show this week a new guest, a friend of mine. He's a master of many things. He's going to talk about golf. He's going to talk about how you can play more golf. Jim McCarthy, welcome in. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome, bud. Like Froggy said, it was great to see the live players out there. I tell you what I like, when you go see your buddies or somebody you haven't seen in a while, and they look different, right? You haven't seen, and all of a sudden you look up and you got DeChambeau looks like a nose guard, and you got Woodland looks like a damn flanker now. I don't know what happened to him. He would look like a strong safety when I saw him last year out in Vegas. But I thought that was kind of a cool thing to see the different looks and stuff out of the different players, and obviously see the competition. It was top notch.
Yeah. Patrick Reed looked thinner. Gary Woodland just took his 25-30, gave it to Bryson. I mean, we've went from like this. I remember when I got into the business, right? You can't lift weights, you can't swim, right? That was bad for your golf swing. Don't play baseball either. And now it's like, play other sports. And then Tiger came along, let's lift some weights, right? And then basketball was cool. Here's DJ Woodland could drop step dunk at Kansas. Finau was a good basketball player. Now we just went ahead and moved to the nose guard. Pretty soon, I'm going to predict in 2 years, golfers might look like WWF wrestlers. Froggy, I mean, we're seeing the change. We're seeing the game change. I mean, right before our eyes right now. We are in the power era, and good grief, Bryson DeChambeau brought his shakes to Texas, and off he went.
Yeah, back in the day, Tiger kind of was the first one to turn this into where we thought golfers were athletes. He put on some weight and started to hit the ball long ways. But then there was almost a time where Tiger went too far. He looked like an NFL linebacker. He looked like Brian Urlacher and maybe lost some speed. And, it goes through all the Navy SEAL training and everything he did. And that's all, a lot of that is up for debate. But it's not now. Rory McIlroy, I believe, is somebody who has found the happy medium where he's put on the weight, and he's put on, and when I say weight, I mean muscle weight. He's put on the muscle, but yet still able to have speed. Bryson looks like a lumberjack, but he still showed touch from 100 yards and in this week. So I don't know. I think the sport is absolutely turning into more of an athletic motion than what we saw a long time ago. But I do think you can go too far. I don't know where that line is.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be hard for him to keep that weight, once he continues to play. And I want to see it play out and see how it goes. You put that much weight on your body. I mean, what a risk, first and foremost. I just
can his frame handle that kind of weight?
Yeah, I mean, can his frame handle that kind of weight? But just even hitting a golf ball, I mean, what a risk it is to do that and then change your swing. He's made some technical swing changes, which we're going to get into in some breakdown stuff this week on the PGA Tour platforms. I mean, he's really done a lot of work changing his swing to go faster. You'll notice how fast he takes a club back. You can, and with his technique and his skill, you can hit it harder with that quicker type of backswing. But it's paying off. I mean, boy, he looked dominant. It's weird to see him hit it 25 past the likes of Rose and DJ, and I don't know if he was quite that far past Rory, but he was certainly the longest one there. And, I think Brooks looked healthy. He looked a little bit heavy. He'll probably play himself back into shape here as they get into the season. But what a field. I mean, it was fun to watch live golf, but then to have that kind of field there. And then you have, I would say, kind of an unlikely winner in Daniel Berger. Although, if you follow the tour closely like we do, I mean, this is a guy that was playing terrific golf. I mean, if anybody was disappointed to see COVID-19 hit and go for a 3-month absence, it was Daniel Berger. I mean, he had 9 events coming into that, 6 top 25s, 3 top 10s, and now they come back and he gets a win, his 3rd win on the PGA Tour. And I know you're stoked, Froggy. He is a Seminole. He played at Florida State.
Oh yeah, as you can see that gator over my head. Yeah. It's funny when you say that. When you go back and you look at day 1 of the players, you remember they played 1 round, and Hideki Matsuyama shot 9 under. But when you go back and look, tied for 7th was Daniel Berger. Also tied for 7th, Colin Morikawa. So 2 guys that were playing well at the Players were the 2 guys in the playoff yesterday in Dallas and Fort Worth.
So, Jim, when you watch Daniel Berger, right, and you watch this golf swing, and he takes it back, unorthodox, gets the club really laid off at the top of the swing, and then brings it down, and it just looks weird, right? I get a lot of that looks weird. That doesn't look like a PGA Tour player swing. It's a very unique swing. What do you think, Jim, when you watch a player like that?
It's a little surprising to see, especially as I think the tour, a lot of the guys out there, and I think the guys that are coming up through the mini tours, they look, a lot of them, they're all doing a lot of the same stuff. So I kind of like that, a little different look. And I sometimes wonder, with some of the stuff that's going on with these guys being so robotic, if they're not focused enough on flexibility and if that's not producing some of the injuries. I know Daniel did have the wrist problems in 18 and 19 in between his June 11th week wins, which is remarkable. That win 3 times in the same week on tour is crazy. But I think it's cool. And I think I like his attitude, man. He throws a dip in, he's out there. I mean, he just kind of, he seems like a good dude. We've seen him out there a couple of times when we've been out there on the tour, and I like the guy. And I don't mind the fact that he's not robotic and his club's in a different spot.
That's a good point. I think in today's game, you do see a lot of cookie cutter action. If you cruise around on social media, pretty much everything looks the same. I mean, the face is square, the lead wrist is, a little flat at the top, club looks good, change in knee flex, shallowed out, rotate. I mean, this is the modern language that we live in. And then you look at Berger get out there, and he's got this super strong, crazy left hand. He rotates it, the shaft's damn near horizontal at the top, but he doesn't steepen it. He kind of keeps it there, and then he rotates and delivers it. It's like, that'd be a tough method to teach, but that's a good point, Jim. I think he does have a lot of personality in his swing, and he is an approachable guy, and I think he's really grown up a lot off the tee. His interviews, he's pretty polished right now. I mean, he really looks like he's kind of coming into his own. We say this about Rory, but I think you got to say the same thing about Daniel Berger. I mean, let me just read these stats off. I mean, these stats are remarkable. Strokes gained off the tee is 41st. Approach 60th. Not too shabby, right? From tee to green. Around the green, he's 67th. Putting, he's 26th. I mean, these are really stellar statistics. They were like this going into the tournament. He's made huge improvements from last year. He works with Jeff Leishman, Mark Leishman's brother, who isn't a real technical teacher and has done a nice job with them. I think we're kind of seeing a late bloomer here in Daniel Berger. I tweeted out early on Sunday, he's gonna win on the PGA Tour. His statistics are too good. He's too mature. He knows his game. This is 3. I know it's easy to say, every guy that wins is going to win more, but you don't have these kind of strength. There's no weaknesses here in this game. He's long enough. He's gonna win some more. You agree with that, Froggy?
Yeah, I do believe he will. Now, my thing is when you get into the guys like that aren't orthodox.
Yeah.
So somebody like a Matt Wolff, where he takes it up, lays it way off, and brings it down, or somebody like Daniel Berger, where he, lays it way off and then has a big arm drop. His arms drop significantly before he starts to unwind. How often can they, how much timing is involved in that? And that's something I would ask you as a teacher. How much timing is involved in that? And is that why sometimes you're going to see weeks where they play really well, and then they have weeks where they're off?
I don't look at his as a bad thing in timing. I think where I look at Berger, that's going to be a problem is how hard he hits down on it. He has wrist issues. His attack angle is steep. I mean, that dude is thumping the ground hard. So, I don't know if that's something he's working on with Jeff to try to shallow that out. I think for me, when I look at his swing, it's not so much the unorthodox of the move. It's more the steepness of the attack angle and the effect that that's going to have on his wrist and his body long term. So,
yeah, because he's had a wrist injury in the past, so he definitely does have a history of injuries with the wrist, which is probably due to hitting down.
So who leads the tour in consecutive rounds par better?
Yeah.
Who?
Daniel, not Rory, not Rose, not Rahm. They got current active leader at 28 rounds under par or better is Daniel, the winner this weekend.
Wow.
What's your streak at right now, Jim?
Mine is around negative 271. It's been a long time since I shot 71.
We should play golf together because mine is about the same.
Yeah.
That's an impressive stat right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some consistency and some difficult golf course. I mean, I think he played. I'm pretty sure he was at the Honda. He was at Arnold Palmer. No, he wasn't at those. But anyway, regardless, that's an incredible run of golf, and you gotta like him this week as they move ahead into Hilton Head. Similar course, going to be a little bit more tree line strategic. These bombers aren't going to be able to cut the corners quite as much, but he's going to have a lot of responsibility. I want to ask you this, Jim. These players were asked to be mic'd up. I don't think many said yes. Rumor has that only one said yes. That was Ricky Fowler, who struggled missing the cut. Fun to listen to that. What kind of stuff do you want to hear, Jim? Like when these players are mic'd, right? And I think more are going to do it. What do you want to hear from Ricky? What do you want to hear from Berger as these guys are playing?
I mean, I think this is a huge opportunity for golf. I feel for the players a little bit, trying to, when you get those things on, you wear them. You wear them all the time. I wore them. It's not the most comfortable thing. It can be distracting. I can see forgetting about the banter piece, but just the logistics of having that thing. We can send a man to the moon 50 years ago. We can't come up with a way for a guy to be able to talk while he plays golf and have us listen to it. So there's got to be an option there from a technology standpoint to make it better for the player, less distracting, because for the fans, I mean, the viewer is going to eat that up. I think it's a huge opportunity for the tour to bring sort of a realness, kind of like you saw in the Tiger, Phil, Peyton, Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady and Peyton's stock, and even Tiger to some respect, and Phil, I think went way up with that because it brought such a authentic realness to those guys while they're cutting up out there. I mean, I think as far as what I'd like to see more of it. Mic them more up and let them. We don't know what the heck they're saying. Some of them are so laid back. When I've walked with some of them before, they talk about anything, and some of them are really dialed in and they're sort of focused. They don't talk too much, and some are more about the game. Some are more about just, staying sort of laid back, kind of keeping a real level, even feel as they move through the round, even joking around a bit. I'll take it all, though, man. I think we need more of it.
CBS had the camera there between 9 green and 10 tee, Froggy. You saw them walk. Yeah. No, I agree. I love it, too. And Ricky, I think, is someone that probably could warm up to that a little bit and, show some of his kind of dry personality at times. And
yeah, the thing is, though,
he puts out there. What do you think, Froggy, of that? And then also,
I think we have to be careful. I think we have to be careful in thinking that, like, for example, I loved the mic'd up interaction between Phil. Like, Phil was awesome in the match and explaining shots and this, that, and the other, and doing a little bit of talking and some jabbing with Brady and with Phil and with Brady and with Peyton and with Tiger. However, I think in a match that counts, when it gets down to it and you get down to the, the 68, 69, 70, 71, 72nd hole, I don't think you're going to get the banter that you were getting there in that match when those guys were having fun. So as a consumer, I think it would be great to have it all be like that. But I think being a realist, that you're not going to see when the chips are on the table and they're ready to get, and they need to get down and play. I don't think you're going to get the banter that we want as fans. I could be wrong, but I think there's certain players that will give you a little more than others. I was surprised when they asked Justin Thomas, would you wear them, Mike? He said, absolutely not. I would not want anything that we are talking about to be on television, and I wouldn't want to be thinking about that rather than thinking about the game. And so I think that takes away from it.
Yeah.
I think that's valid.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to get the banner down the stretch, but I like the conversation of the decision-making,
And Mike the caddies, like, for example, to me, Mike the caddies, like, because like and once again, I know that I'm not the normal guy, but I absolutely love, to me, listening to Bones and Phil go over a shot when Bones was on his bag, to hear them talk about, if it does this or if it does that, and this is how many steps, and this is that, just to listen to the two of them go back and forth, that was good. So it's good enough to me if you just mic the caddy and I can just listen to the interaction between the two of them.
Yeah, a couple F-bombs put out there.
I heard Brooks. Yeah, Brooks dropped one when Rahm made a chip in. Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how that transpires. I love just the quick 15, 20 seconds player caddy, let us inside, make the decision, why they're making the decision, then off they go. Some general reactions, cool. The banter, that's gonna kind of come and go. I think the camera from in between 9 green and 10 tee is an interesting idea. I don't know how creative most of these guys are going to be. There's going to be a few, kind of cute and fun takes probably from a few of them. I thought Ian Poulter did a good job, but for the most part, these guys are in their element. To ask them as they walk by to be interesting and entertaining could be a tough ask. But it'll be interesting to see what transpires. Back to Berger's streak, Jim, as you mentioned, he did play the Honda, which played brutally tough, 69-70, 69-69. He did not play API, which played really tough. So I was thinking if he would have played both of those and had that streak, good grief. But nonetheless, how about these last 4 finishes? T9, T5, T4, and a first. Daniel Berger could be the hottest player in the world right now. Bryson DeChambeau, he finished T3rd. Of course, Morikawa was right there. He lost in a playoff. How about this? Bryson, 340 yards average off the tee. Strokes gained, of course, he was first, just blitzed the field. His iron game's good. Strokes gained, 15th. Around the greens, I think it's where, Bryson gets a little hairy from time to time. Around the greens, his putting can be a little inconsistent. Although Bryson, I will say in his defense, he's a much better putter on Bermudas than he is bent. So that was a pretty good run for him on bent greens down there, where he's going back to Bermuda this week. Bryson's, I think, going to be right there as well. So let's take a break here for a second. We're going to switch gears. And Jim, I want to bring in a little more of your skill set here. You have a way of, you have friends, first and foremost, all over the world that, kind of rely on you to help them navigate many things. One of them, really best practices when approaching their significant other on playing more golf. This is a topic that I get a lot in my DMs. Hey, can you do something like this to help us out to play more golf? And I was like, stay tuned. Matter of fact, I have some people that can help us with that. So we're going to count down the top 5 best practices when approaching your significant other to play more golf this summer, because we care about you here at
Time for me to take notes.
So number 5, Jim McCarthy, take it away.
Number 5, we're all getting back to playing more golf all around the country. Been lucky to play a little bit more down in Florida. But now that everybody's out there, it's tours back on TV. It's going to get the juices flowing. You're going to want to get out there. The first thing you got to think about when you're talking to your significant other is you got to make it a win-win. It's got to be a win-win, right? Figure out maybe something for her, maybe she would like, right? And work that in there. Maybe it's a plan with her friends that'll occupy her, you know, and she's not really paying close attention to the time and how long you're gone or whatever. Maybe something, I don't know, maybe magically something shows up at the house, something that she's wanted for, you know, a long time, happens to show up the week before you even ask. Things are great, new things showed up, you know, whatever it may be. And then you throw the ask in there and maybe even surprise her and send her to see her family, you know, and seeing the family watch there, because then you kind of work in multiple rounds there.
Well, I think, and Froggy, I want to get your thoughts on this. I mean, there's a few things that stand out for me. One is you have to be careful that doesn't come across as bribery, right? So you have to be tuned in to what it is that she likes and that she wants to do, right? So like it has to come across authentic. And then I think the timing of that has to be important. So it can't be just like, hey, here's what I was thinking. I'd love to set you up with some of your friends that, you know, a weekend getaway. Is that, and then, oh, by the way, can I play golf tomorrow morning? So you have to like, you know,
that would be my delivery.
You have to be respectful. The timing of that
key.
Is key. And I think the authenticity of that is key. But I love the win-win. If it's a win-win, there's no losers. Froggy, is that?
I agree 100%. It's all in the delivery. You just have to make sure that you don't make it seem like you're only doing X because you're trying to get to Z. So you really have to work on your delivery as much as you do the plan.
Practice like golf. You have to practice those things in the shower, when you're driving to work, you know, the delivery of that, and then anticipate what she's going to say and then be ready.
Have an answer.
To have an answer. That's right. Okay. I like that. Win-win. So that's check. I'm on board on that. What's number 4, Jim?
Number 4, I would say I've got this slotted at 4. I think it's appropriate. Is kind of the reverse psychology move, right? You do the old, honey, you know, Trav called and Froggy called, and they're putting together a game on Saturday, and I told them I probably wouldn't be able to do it.
I've done that before. Oh my God.
I tell you, this is what I like about this is like high level professional selling, right? The old negative reversal, you put it on them, and as humans, right? It's human nature. When someone pushes something away, you sort of push it back like a pendulum, right? So you say, well, I probably wouldn't be able to. It's a little risky because you could throw that out there. I probably wouldn't be able to do that. And she'll be like, yeah, you're damn right, you can't do it. Right. So it's a little risky, but again, going back to what Froggy said, style, right? That style is key. That delivery is key.
And timing.
Absolutely.
Timing. You have to have the perfect timing. You got to know when to ask. Don't ask when things are going really well. Don't ask when there's a stressful moment or the kids have upset. Like you have to know the timing.
For sure. Absolutely.
You know, I love the reverse psychology approach. I've used it many times. It is risky. I've been shot at it. It can blow up in your face so fast. I like there's ways to get into reverse psychology though too. Like, you know, Jim, I think we've actually tried this before where, you know, maybe you would have so-and-so, you know, text my wife, right? Or, you know, hey, what's Trav doing this weekend? You know, so your wife reaches out to my wife and that kind of gets it going a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's helpful.
You know that happened, and then you can kind of dig in and let that flower bloom a little bit and just kind of, you know, inch it along with her. You know, I didn't think I was going to be able to play this weekend because why not? You know, that's what you're hoping for. So why not? You should play. You know, that's kind of where you want things to go. So there's ways to get into that. And I encourage people to write, you know, as you're listening to this, write your ideas down because you'll forget them. And there's no bad answers. There's nothing wrong here. You're going to fail when you do this, but you know what? You're going to win too. And
don't be a quitter. If you fail at first, you got to try again. Yeah.
Every time you win, you play more golf, right? So I like that. Win-wins is number 5. A little reverse psychology approach, number 4. Stay tuned to the top 3 as we continue along here. Back to Texas. You know, these guys, professional golfers, they don't have to explain themselves. This is their job, right? So they just look at their significant other and say, "Hey,
I wish I could look at my wife and go, I got to go to work. I'm going to go play golf."
Yeah, I got to go to work. You look at Sunday at Colonial, and I think there was some fatigue on Sunday. I really do. I think we saw some rust, but the golf wasn't great on Sunday. The lowest round, Kokrak, he came from way back. I think he shot 64.
No.
Highest round, Duffner had 78. We saw Rory go out and shoot 41 on the front. I mean, he darn near hit it on the hosel, the second shot on one. Bryson was a little up and down. Spieth was a little up and down. JT looked tired on Sunday. We weren't like running home to this fantastic, great golf finish. But one of the guys that, was a little up and down on Sunday, continues to struggle on Sunday, was Jordan Spieth. And I got to tell you, I've been thinking about this all morning. Jordan Spieth, where do I stand with Jordan Spieth? Because last week I went on there and I said, look, this is the perfect restart for Jordan Spieth. He's got 3 more months to work on his swing. He's going to come back at a place that he feels comfortable. He's won there.
Right.
He's twice second, and no fans. I think that plays in his advantage. There's not that really increased expectation level with all these people around. So he finishes T10. He goes 65-65 Thursday, Friday. Looks great.
Right.
68 on Saturday. Nice round. 71 on Sunday. Hits it out of bounds when he gets in contention. He 3-putts from 3 feet. He's still in the negative strokes gained approach. His putting is off the chart. The guy putts to the ocean. It's crazy. I don't know. I mean, I convince myself, great step, and then I come back and I'm like, I just don't know, Froggy. I'm just caught in between with Jordan Spieth.
And I'm going to be honest with you, and if it makes me a bad guy, it makes me a bad guy, but I like to watch it. I mean, when I saw him yesterday get in contention, I was watching, and I said, he's going to hit one out of bounds. And sure enough, on the next tee box, he blows it right of right. I saw a hilarious meme yesterday, and it said, things guaranteed to fall apart. It was like 4 pictures. The top one was cornbread. The next one was a granola bar. The next one was a burrito. And the 4th one was Jordan Spieth.
Oh,
I'm like, dude, this is so wrong. But yet, it's unbelievable. It's so hard to believe that there was a time that he was the most consistent player on the planet.
Yeah.
But also, it also always takes me back to, there was a time that Jordan was the most consistent player. There was a time that Rory was. There was a time that Brooks was. And all of these guys that put it together, and you feel like they can't miss, it's a very short window. And that window closes. And it takes them a while to get back. Let's be honest. Rory is struggling a little bit. I know he had a great year last year. He won the Players. But he hasn't won a major last year. Brooks has not played great as of late, and it really goes back and just shows you how amazing of a run Tiger had when he had that run where he went for years and years and expected to win. And anytime he teed it up, hell, other pros would tell us, we're just playing for second place. It's unbelievable how hard it is and how fast that window closes. And it's obviously closed on Jordan. I think he'll get it open again at some point, but you can see it's a lot harder than it looks because they make it look so easy when it's open.
Yeah, I mean, he's won 11 times. He's a 3-time major champion. We're pushing 3 years now, since he won. I think, gosh, it feels more like a positive than a negative. I think his swing, he drove the ball very well at times and long, 314. And the ball just seemed like it was really carrying a little bit longer, more than normal, and there at Colonial.
Travis, who wins next, Phil Mickelson or Jordan Spieth?
I think it's Jordan Spieth. I think Phil Mickelson's way more erratic than Jordan Spieth. Phil Mickelson has no idea where the ball's going off the tee. Zero.
No.
And I think Jordan Spieth has a little bit more of an idea. He didn't hit the hard left. The ball he hit out of bounds was right. Look, it's been a long grind back. He finished T10th. I'm going to go on the positive. But how do you feel, Jim? You watch Jordan play. I mean, are you? Because it's almost like, in my mind, it's almost like we're kind of getting into this love-hate with Jordan. Like, we love him because he's great for the tour. He seems like a good guy. But then a lot of people don't like him because he kind of whines a little bit on the golf course. What do you say?
Well, listening to everything, watching over the weekend, I kind of like what Froggy said and what you said when we started. I don't know. I don't know how I feel, because I used to love watching the guy, and then it got sort of overcooked all the time. He just was all of the talking and everything, and how he handled himself. This guy went from this 19-year-old phenom that had so much great energy and got such a quick following, and obviously, like Froggy said, I mean, the guy was on fire. I mean, he had a run there with all of his majors and everything else where it looked like, okay, we got another guy coming.
Right
Now, I started to feel like I think he's more focused. He's not talking as much. Maybe he's got a little more command, on the first part of the Colonial. And obviously, like you said, he putted in from anywhere. I mean, he was first in strokes gained putting this week.
Not even close.
But he, strokes gained approaches, he was 95th, and around the greens, he was 68th. So, and then I felt like as he was playing not as well, he talked more. And it was more of sort of his drama stuff that I think he's bringing into his little game.
Absolutely.
And so I was kind of like excited to say, I think he's made some changes. I think that this time off was good for him, and he's, maybe he's back. And then I was a little disappointed and kind of bummed to see the not playing as well, than the kind of that emotional talking thing, coming out of it. It almost felt like this guy was beyond his years mature, and then he just went backwards, in his career from that standpoint of managing it. So I'm anxious to see what happens. I think I agree with you in saying this was a step positive forward. You remember for a little while there, he got pretty funky sideways with his putting.
Yeah.
And now he's just pouring it in. I mean,
except for the 3-putt from 3 feet. He missed a 23-inch putt. I mean, my issue is the attitude. Like, if you look at Xander Schauffele, for example, so Xander drives it in the bunker on 14, I believe it was. And no, on 15. He drives it in the bunker on 15, hits it in the water. Excuse me, on 14. Hits it in the water, has to get up and down. Makes almost a 40-footer for bogey on 14. Gets to 15, has to make birdie again. Rolls in a 30-some footer there, and then gets back tied for the lead.
Yeah.
Hits it on the green on 17, has about 15, 18 feet for for birdie, misses it, rolls it by the cup 3 feet, has a power lip out on 17, which essentially cost him a spot in the playoff, because on the next hole he made par. He missed that putt very short. But the way he handled it, from the shot that went in the water to the bogey that he made, the birdie that he made, and then the bogey, the lip out that he had, I just think the way Xander handled it is the way a professional's supposed to handle it, and I don't think that Jordan would have handled it that way.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, and it rubs me a little the wrong way. He's a competitor. He's pretty emotional. Michael Greller shoulders a lot, I'm sure, his caddy. Things came pretty easy to Jordan. When he got out on tour, and he just went. He was clicking on all cylinders. He's winning the tournaments that he should have won, and then he probably picked up one or two that kind of fell his way, right? Which included 3 major championships, and then, I think he went after a little distance. And as he went after that, he kind of lost his swing, and then he lost his putter, and that's the double whammy, right? I mean, you can't lose your weapon. So he's had to back. His putting is back. I mean, he is. I tweeted out on Friday. I was following him on the app after, I think, 18 holes. After the first 6 on Friday, so 18 total holes, he made like 160 feet of putt. I mean, it's like who does that? I mean, it's just crazy how many putts he makes. And so he's rolling there. Like I said, some good ball striking at times. I think he's got to chalk it up as a win. But it just feels like now, where 2 years ago it felt more technique oriented. That was the issue, and then some emotional. Now it feels like it's more like Jordan now. It's more emotional. Continue to come around with the technique, and just get out of your own way. Chill out a little bit, and let the chips fall where they might. And I think as he kind of probably continues to go that way, I think he's going to win before Phil Mickelson wins. I don't know if Jordan Spieth wins. I still think he has a ways to go. Strokes gained approach still is not up to par yet. He still doesn't look good enough down the stretch yet. He looks still shaky over some of these short putts, but he's going the right way. That's my final answer. I'm leaving it at that. Next week, we'll probably be talking about it again, as he shoots 64, 74, 63, 81. Who knows, right? I mean, you You could convince me of anything right now.
Yeah, well, he publicly said a couple of years ago that he spent a year working on the wrong thing. I mean, to spend a year of your time working on the wrong technique, now you've got to undo that and then work on what you were supposed to work on. So there's been a lot going on with Jordan Spieth that does not make sense, but hopefully we are headed back in the right direction.
I'm going to give you a couple names, give him a grade. First guy had the lead after Thursday, Friday, Harold Varner the third, and then he struggled once again on the weekend, and particularly on Sunday. What do you think? Harold Varner the third. Froggy, what kind of grade would you give him?
I'm going to give him a B.
What do you think? Are you impressed with this young guy, or is there someone else that's sticking out in your mind from this next generation of players?
Guy, I think he's a total package, man. I think he is legit. I was shocked he missed that putt. I mean, he doesn't really have a weak spot. It's interesting that tweet you put out at one point over the weekend before the final round saying if he rolls a few in, he's going to win. And it came right down to that on the very last hole there. I think he is really good. And I think in the last year, comfortable, I think is probably a wrong word, but what I'm trying to get at is he's at home out there now. He feels good about it. He's comfortable. I guess maybe that I can't find a better word to use. Going from week to week and dealing with the different courses and the different fields and all the things these guys have to deal with besides just teeing it up, right? I mean, most people out there don't know what these guys go through with the commitments they have, leading up to an event, how much time of their own they do not have. And I think he's matured quickly, and I think he's about to have a big time run.
Well, he's an exceptional striker like Harold. His putting will leave him from time to time. That probably is his opportunity as he learns these golf courses and these green complexes on tour. But man, he is the total package. He's mature beyond his years off the course, and I think he's definitely a notch, I think, above Hovland. I think he's a notch above Wolf. Sanjay M, I would put right there with him. Sanjay is a very complete player. I think as far as the youth, to me, Sanjay M, Froggy, and Colin Morikawa are the two guys that you're going to be seeing a lot on the leaderboards here as we roll into the golf season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Morikawa's swing is phenomenal. He's got a great composure about him. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. Still can't believe he missed that putt at the end.
Yeah. I can't either.
But, listen, that, to me, when I see guys like Morikawa, Schauffele, Spieth, when I see these guys missing, 2-foot putts, to me, it does many things. It makes them more human. It makes me understand why sometimes when I miss a 2-foot putt that I'm like, you know what, you can't beat yourself up. You got to move on. And number 3, it also lets your buddies who go like, I got it inside the flagstick. We're just going to pick that one up. Nope. The tour guys do not roll them in every time from 2-foot, putt it out. And that's the thing it is a difficult game. And when it matters, that cup looks like it's about an inch bigger than the ball when you have to make a 2-footer. And that's what happens.
Well, they're making the trip over to Hilton Head. We're going to get to that field here in a second. But first, Jim, I want to come back here. I know we've got some people wanting more advice because they want to play more golf. Top 5 best practices when approaching your significant other, right? There's a way to go about this, and we're here to help you. Number 5 was win-win. Number 4 was that reverse psychology approach, right? Which is risky, but man, it can pay off beautifully when done correctly. Number 3 is.
So number 3, much like the other 2, you get timing, style, all of that, very important. This one is one where you can use science. Okay. So I've looked this up. This is golf is a necessity both mentally and physically for your health. And I want to read you guys some stats here and Froggy, tune into this.
You're right. Because if you remember when we went into quarantine, our governor said that golf was an essential activity because of health.
Okay. You ready for this? Listen to this. Okay. So this is a survey. This is scientific research. I pulled it up on the internet, so it's got to be true. So for folks in the last 12 months that have reported having anxiety, okay, people. Okay. 18.3%. Okay. Golfers, 11.9.
Oh,
Okay.
Wow.
I'm going to give you a couple more here. Okay. These are very important. You guys got to use these because you can't mess with science, right? The math doesn't lie. The next one, depression. I mean, anxiety and depression are two of the biggest things we talk about in our society.
Yep.
The stats on depression, regular folks go in last 12 months, 15.1%. Golfers, 8.7.
Damn.
Okay. So just take those. And I've got more. I've got stress and panic attack were two other ones that also checked out well, where stress was 26% and only 22 for golfers, and panic attacks was 5.5 and only 3%. So, most of these, well, really all of them, there's a significant improvement. In some, it's massive. And that's how important golf is to our lives, right? Mentally and physically. Okay. So you got to get with a significant other and make sure they understand you don't want us to be like the regular Joe, right? Because not only do you want us to be regular, right? You want us to be your superstar guy, but look at the numbers, right? The stats don't lie. These are doctor's orders.
That's right. See?
I don't know how a significant other could argue that, really. I mean, actually, I do. I do know how they could come back to that, but wow, that's staggering. I mean, this is science, right?
It is.
Just like when you're teaching golf, there's science, and you can't argue it. And,
right. You can't argue with the ball flight laws. You can't argue with this.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think there really needs to be anything else said, because that is a wonderful example. And that's number 3 in the top 5. You're telling me there's 2 better than that? There's 2.
Well, I'm telling you, but going back to that one now, keep in mind, if you don't do it with the right timing, that Farag mentioned earlier, how critical it is in the style and making sure you manage it right, you may find that all of those numbers for yourself under anxiety, depression, stress, and panic attack may go up as a result of how you manage that.
Right. Because remember, the road to hell was paved with good intentions.
Exactly.
So you can have great information, but if you're delivering and your timing sucks, forget it.
Yep.
So would you recommend, or maybe we need to ask the doctor, but would you recommend that you wait till you are stressed out to bring this up, or the first time, and then use that as an example of, I don't want to get to that point again, so I want to manage that by playing golf before I get too stressed out?
Yeah, I think you can do that. I think it's going to end up being sort of where you're at in that moment in your life, right? It's hard for us to sort of be able to plan everything out so perfectly. Yeah. So that there's going to be times when you are stressed out and you can say, hey, babe, look, this is the deal. I've got to get out and I've got to go get a release with the guys and play some golf. The doctors say, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other time is when things are fine. You say, honey, you're not going to believe this. The research shows that guys that are getting out there playing golf, look at these numbers.
Yeah, you got to seed it. You got to drop the seed.
And don't even ask to play after that, right?
Nope.
Don't even ask to play. Just put it right out there, because the next time you ask, that'll be sitting there right there in their head, right?
Damn, this is brilliant.
That's beautiful. That's really, really well said, and much appreciated, I'm sure, by everyone listening. I'm curious now, what is number 2? You're telling me there's something better than that.
Number 2 is you got to create the golf trip and the buddies trip. You just have to. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. There's a lot of ways you can really screw this up, but you've got to create the golf trip. I mean, you can make it. Think about it. When you grow up, when you're an adult, we can't go play football together anymore, right? I mean, I guess you can play, but a little bit, but basketball, everything else is sort of full contact action. It's hard to compete. Some guys can't play at all. Some guys can't. Golf, we can compete with all of our buds, regardless of the skill level.
Right.
We can go out, we can compete, we can gamble, we can consume whole meals of food, we can have adult beverages, lifetime memories. I mean, you've got to find a way to do it. If you're not, you got to do it. It's just the best. And one of the things you can work in here, there's a couple. One is you can make it work related, right? I mean, work related, you get, sometimes I've had to make that kind of a thin work related situation, right? Where, there's 8 guys going and one guy I could potentially do business with in the next 50 years. And the other 6 are like fraternity brothers that will never work together. So it could be real thin, or it could be as simple as, it is actual guys you like and you want to hang with that you do some work with. But if it's work related, you got a much higher percentage chance to get a yes. And then the second thing, you can use the occasion, right? The occasion's a big deal because it's not me, right? It's like Trav put this thing together for his 40th. And it's going to be amazing. God, it's going to be so awesome. I mean, I'm not planning anything. I'm not doing anything, but I have to be there. Right.
Right. I think you should work in number 4 with this one. So you use that. I know I'm probably not going to be able to go, but it's a really big deal to Travis if I could do this. And I know I'm probably not going to be able to, but I just wanted to let you, if you kind of work that into number 2.
Exactly. You can use number 4 all over the place here. Yeah, you can overlap these. Don't forget that. The occasion is a big deal. The 40th birthday or the bachelor party or the wedding or the whatever. And it's like, what am I supposed to say? No?
Right.
See, women are so much better at planning trips. I mean, they just get so far out in front and plan trips. And I think women generally have more friends than men do, just at least from my observation in the life. Maybe it's just me. I don't have many friends, but but they just like they're just really good at planning events, right? Oh, it's her bachelorette party. It's her 28th birthday. My wife just celebrated one of her friends' half birthday. I was like, wait a minute,
what?
I'm drawing the line on that one.
That's legit.
Yeah,
so it's just they're just baby showers and pajama parties, and it's just like, damn, like you guys are creative. These girls
they just plan stuff.
And but it's good, like it's that's important to them, and and you want your wife to be happy, and that's what they need to do. But men are not good usually at planning those trips. You got to get out in front. You got to get out in front, plan it now, even if it's just right down the road, right?
Yep.
Got to plan it. If you can do that, then you don't get up to that point where you're like, man, I'm not doing anything. Well, you're not helping yourself out, right? And that's what we're trying to do here. And that's just wonderful advice. And I love the overlap. I mean, you'll get good at this, right? And just maybe kind of chip off one at a time right now. And then you'll get really good and confident, and you'll start to weave these in and out, and you'll just have it under control. You'll probably be playing golf, every other day at that point. So good stuff, Jim. I'm going to come back to number 1 here in a second, but I want to lob it ahead. The tour moves up to Hilton Head Island, one of my favorite events. Harbortown Links, what a beautiful spot. RBC Heritage, presented by Boeing. And man, these two tournaments, they didn't benefit from the COVID-19 because they don't have fans there, right? There's a lot of people making things happen to get the tour back. PGA Tour's losing money, I would anticipate at this point, just to be back out there because they can't get the fans out there.
Right.
But what a field last week and what a field this week. The Travelers next week's going to be good. This particular event usually follows the Masters, of course. So they don't get the big names per se coming in there like they've got coming this week. And you just look at the winners here. I'm gonna read this list off of winners over the last stretch here. Last year was CT Pond. 18 was Sadashi Kadara. 2017 was Wesley Bryan, who's actually making his return this week from his medical. He's playing. 2016, Brandon Grace. 15, Jim Furyk. 14, Matt Kuchar. 13, Graham McDowell. 12, Carl Pedersen. Davis Love III's won this event 5 times. So like last week, the Bombers usually aren't there, but here they come. I mean, they're all there again. Top 5. Rory, first time he's played since 2009. Last time Rory played here, he was 19 years old. John Rahm's there. JT is coming back. He played there back in 16, I think. Brooks, first time. DJ, he plays there, of course, his affiliation with RBC. He's played well. I mean, I think he had the lead going into Sunday last year.
He did.
He melted down, shot 77, and CT Pond won it. Fowler's there, first time since 12. So, I mean, this is incredible. I'm just fascinated, too, because here you got a Pete Dye design with Nicklaus. Like last week, I mean, you're not overpowering this golf course. 7,100 yards, a second shot golf course, small greens. You gotta you can't just bomb it over the trees and overpower it. But hey, who knows? Maybe you can, because you don't see these guys showing up here and winning. Davis Love wasn't exactly short. So, I mean, how's this going to play out, Froggy, you think?
I think they are benefiting, and I hate to use the term benefiting, but I think the field itself is going to be different. If you noticed when you went over those list of winners, no disrespect to the list of winners, but none of them were the big boys that we're normally used to seeing. And I think that's it's twofold. I think it is after the Masters, like you said. Maybe they don't get some of the big players because they're taking some time off after the Masters, but you can't overpower this golf course. It's a lot like TPC Sawgrass, another Pete Dye design. You're not going to go out there and bomb it past everybody. It's where's the second shot. So I do think you'll see some guys that maybe like, for example, Gary Woodland yesterday, if you notice, hit a lot of irons off tees. Gary Woodland can dial it back, hit irons off tees, and hit his second shot. So I think they're going to have to adjust their game. Yeah. You can't just get up there and just take it to Pound Town all day long.
You ever played this course, Jim?
Yeah, actually, I got my little RBC shirt on from when I was there. We had a little tournament up there, guides trip, actually. Super fun time, and some of the jokers couldn't make it because they didn't play their cards right. But I love the golf course. It's fun as an amateur to go up there, play where the big boys play. And I've been to the tournament there, 4 or 5 times now. And, it's known throughout the folks that, on tour and the caddies and stuff. That's one of their top weeks of the year. Usually, obviously, like Frog said, it's after the Masters, but everybody drives over, and it's usually filled with players and their families, or players do stuff with their buddies.
Right.
They get houses together. It's laid back earlier in the week. You go to some of the restaurants on the island there, and you'll see a lot of them out, having fun, having some adult beverages. It really is it's a cool environment. I think this week will be interesting to see what happens when you get this field. I think we're lucky to see this field there, right? Because who knows what the heck's going to happen. This is something that is unusual, you might say, and it's going to be fun. I will watch this more on TV than I normally would, because the different field we have now.
Right.
Yeah, and you got some people out there on the water too. Like, you're going to have a few more people you're probably going to be able to hear, because you can get a little closer to the action there, with the boats versus what we saw at Colonial, where there's nothing going on around it other than TCU right up there across the street. But it's just fascinating to see these courses now with the big guys showing up, and just think how thing changes, because they usually don't show up. Last week at the Colonial, they were there, and here they are, right there at the first page of the leaderboard. So distance just weighs out at every track. To your point, Froggy, hit the driving iron out there. I heard Luke Liss, who won the here at TPC Sawgrass, the Corn Ferry Tour. He's going to be playing this week, and talking about his driving iron. And he said that he goes, "Yeah, I'm just going to hit my driving iron. I love that place, and I can hit my driving iron like 275 yards."
Must be nice.
So, it's like when you can bust out a driving iron and hit it that far. I mean,
right.
Geez, I guess you can play any golf course. So let me give you a few names here. I'm going to do the matchup show presented by DraftKings. I've been really throwing some names around here. You look at this golf course, strokes gain, right? When you break down, for at least me, you have strokes gain off the tee, you have strokes gain approach, you have strokes gain around the green, and then you have strokes gain putting, right? And when you weigh out this course, strokes gain approach is huge on this course.
Number
strokes
one.
gain off the tee, the value of it actually goes down significantly in comparison to other events. So strokes gain approach is huge. Strokes gain putting is huge. Those are the two big ones here, and they're pretty close. Strokes gain around the green is actually kind of drops down a little bit in comparison to other events, because the pitch shots around the green here are usually not too difficult. Where Colonial, they're more difficult. The grainy, sandy, tough pitch shots around the green. Here you got small greens, not much rough. So it's really a second shot course, and you got to be able to putt these Bermuda greens. So real quick hitters here. Jordan Spieth versus Justin Thomas. Who do you got?
I'd take JT.
Yeah.
JT.
Spieth can open up 65, 67. Everybody can be fired up, and then what was right before him? Froggy cornbread and what else?
Cornbread, granola bars, and
Granola
burritos.
bars. Yeah.
Okay. Bryson DeChambeau versus Dustin Johnson.
Well, I'm going to go with Bryson.
I think I'm going to go the other way because DJ knows that area up there, Coastal Carolina guy, if I remember right. I'm going to go DJ on that one.
DJ's got to get the truck started here, man. He looks like he's laboring now. Missed a cut last week, but you're right. He does know it well. I'd like to see him get back to his ways. Here's a tough one. Victor Hovland versus Colin Morikawa. Really interesting matchup here on this course.
I'm going to take Hovland.
I'm going to go the other way. I got Morikawa.
Okay. Morikawa going to shake it off?
I do. I think so. I do. I think he played too well to let a 2-foot putt ruin his mojo.
I'm going to give you a website. It's called Fantasy National Golf Club. Fantasy National. Actually, it's fantasynational.com. Amazing site on statistics. Amazing. One of them that I love is they break down how they putt on different greens. Morikawa is horrific on Bermuda putting. Terrible. Great ball striker, but major weakness putting on Bermuda. So we'll see if he can overcome that and perhaps have a better putting week like he did last week. All right, here's two sleepers for you. I love these two guys on this golf course, right? Getting value, DraftKings. First one's Tyrrell Hatton. I think Tyrrell Hatton's a sleeper coming into this. And I got him going up against another sleeper who I like here is that Joaquin Niemann.
I think I'd go Hatton.
I agree, Hatton.
Yeah. Tyrrell Hatton's good, man.
Yeah.
He is. He's a good player.
This dude's good. Like he's the most underrated player in the world, I think. His statistics are great. He won a course earlier in the year at Arnold Palmer, and haven't seen him since. So it'll be fun to see how he goes. All right, let's finish up the show. Number one, best practice, Jim. When approaching significant other on playing more golf. Number one, best practice is
the guy that she likes. And this is a big one because unlike the other ones where you may not have the frequency, right? A golf trip, you can't do that all the time. And some of the others, the guy that she likes is your get out of jail free, right? Travis actually plays that card for me. Anytime he calls, I get the clearance. Doesn't really even matter how much notice. So you don't need advance notice on that thing, right? Location is not really an issue in case you need to be gone longer than the normal round takes. And so you have that guy. And then the other thing that comes into play is hanging afterwards is not a problem because she likes the guy. There's not going to be any issues and whatever. So that hanging out after is a big component to some of the rounds I've played in. So getting that clearance and not having the stress of when you're going to have to race back and maybe letting them down because you overpromise, undeliver from your style and setting the expectations. Big deal. Got to have the guy she likes. And a major side note here, always stay away from the guy she doesn't like, right? You don't want to ever have that guy, or if there's a couple of them out there, don't bring those guys up because you are not playing golf.
Nope. Really good. Really, really good point.
And if I could add one, actually, there's one I'd like to add that I've just pulled off. So we are going on a road trip because of all the COVID stuff going on. We are going on a road trip. And on a road trip is we're going to Hilton Head and we're going to Charleston. And so there is things for her to do while we go play. I'm going to play Harbor Town the week after the event. And then in Charleston, we have friends there. There's golf there as well. So if you plan a little trip with the family and there's things for her to do, you can go play golf.
That's the win-win right there. That's number 5. That's
it
perfect.
Is. There you go.
That's the win-win. That's well played. But
That's
I think
perfect.
back to number one, Jim. We have to understand your wife, your significant other, right now, there's 1 or 2 of your friends. The perception in her head is not the same as it is in yours, right? It's not the same. You think he's a great guy, da-da-da. She views him as something else, right?
Right.
in the way, and it doesn't matter what you say, it's a negative and it gets in the way of you playing golf. So if that person's going to be there, that person has to be way in the distance, but you have to understand who that person is on the negative list, in addition to who she likes, so you can play those cards beautifully. And it is a wonderful it's a wonderful hand to know what those cards are, because I like that one a lot, Jim. I think that one appropriately is number one. And I think we help people play. I think, I feel like we've grown the game today. Not only have we broken down, but I feel like we've grown the game. Greens fees are going up, merchandise sales are going up because of the top 5 best practices when approaching your significant other on playing more golf. Well done, Froggy, Jim. Thank you for being here. Well done.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you. This is another episode of the Stripe Show podcast. We'll be back later this week. Rumor has it Luke List is going to be on the show. The winner.
Nice.
TPC Sawgrass. Yeah, that TPC Sawgrass won the Korn Ferry Tour event. He actually has full status on the PGA Tour. He's in the field this week, RBC Heritage. But just because you have full status doesn't mean you get in every event. But his status continues to grow. Speaking of bombing it, Luke List hits it out of the stratosphere. I mean, he is one of the longest, if not the longest. I want to see Luke List play with Bryson. I want to see those two guys tee it up.
Better be a big ballpark.
Yeah, those two might be the longest on the PGA Tour right now. Thanks for being here. Stripe Show podcast. See you later this week.